When rollerblading started, it was a free-spirited, rebellious youth, freedom of expression type of activity, and there were no rules because no one had ever done it before. But as time went on and skating grew and more tricks came into the sport, there also became a proper way to do things, or rules that you needed to follow if your tricks were going to count and if you were going to be taken seriously. And similar to the way that we can't agree what trick names are, sometimes rules can change from region to region, even city to city. However, there are a few rules that are pretty universal, and today I want to talk about 4 universal rules and one that might be a little more obscure, a little more of a perfectionist rule, but it's one I've been having a little fun with, trying to implement it into my own skating lately. And y'all, one last thing before we dive into this, please don't take it too seriously. This is really just for entertainment. It's just for a laugh. Go out and skate in a way that is fun for you. Learn at your own pace. Don't worry about breaking rules. I break quite a few of these myself on a regular basis. Like I said, go out and skate in a way that's fun for you. Don't worry about this too much. All right, rule number 1, stepping onto your grinds. Now this is a thing a lot of beginners do, and it's totally cool when you're learning. Stepping on one foot then the other just till you get comfortable with the grind. But once you're comfortable with it, it's super important to break this habit early so you're not, 5 years down the road still doing step-on grinds. Your friends are not going to let you get away with this. Now the exception to this rule is going to be with things like shuffles, med spins, and fast plants in your tricks. If you're going to do a step-on, you got to make it look good. Alright, rule number 2, rolling on your topside tricks. Again, this happens a lot when you're learning things, and it's fine when you're learning if you have like a coping box and your foot's a little vertical, or if you're doing it on a mini ramp, maybe your wheels are rolling on the top of the deck. But once you got a little more experience under your belt, this is not okay. There are no exceptions to this one. You are not allowed to roll your topside tricks. Make sure you get that foot all the way over. Bend those knees. The flex comes from your knees and your hips, not from your ankles or your cuffs. Bend those knees, get those feet over. Don't roll your topsides. Alright guys, rule number 3 is that you should always land fakie. Every trick you should land fakie. And I think this needs some updating to say that no matter what direction you land, you need to hold that direction. I personally think like forward 3s and forward 7s look awesome, but as long as you hold it forward. If you do a forward 7, land forward, and then continue around to fakie and roll out fakie, it does kind of ruin it a little bit for me, whatever. So rule number 3, whatever direction you land, you need to hold that direction. Rule number 4, and the old heads will never get past this one, is that you have to grab your foot when you're doing one-footed grinds. That's right, no matter how big the obstacle was, no matter how far you held the grind, no matter if you did a 900 out of it, if you did not grab it, it did not count. Big exception to this rule is 2020. Looks like we're continuing into 2021. COVID's out there, guys. It's all over the parks. Who knows what else is all over the ground at the skate parks. Don't touch your skates, man. You might get it on your hands. You might spread it to someone else. You don't need to grab your skates. It doesn't really add anything to the trick. As long as you can place that dangling foot with purpose, keep it under control, it looks just as good. Don't worry what the old roller boomers say. You don't have to grab your tricks. And finally, rule number 5, and this one is more for the perfectionists out there. A lot of people are not going to want to follow this rule, and that's totally fine. But on tricks that involve a groove foot, you need to have that groove foot locked in there. Talking about your porn star variations and your acid variations especially. You wouldn't do a soul grind with it dangling around. You shouldn't do a porn star with your foot just flopping around back there. Otherwise, it's really just a macchio with a training wheel. Lately, I've become a big believer in this rule. I used to have porn stars that I hated doing because they looked terrible. And having that groove foot locked in there, keeping it nice and tight, is what makes it look good. It's the reason why Brandon Drummond's look so good and mine have looked so terrible for so long. Now the glaring exception to this is the sidewalk. We all know it, I guess we love it. It is the most beautifully hideous trick in the trick vocabulary out there, and it is absolutely impossible to lock a backslide groove when you're dragging your shoelaces. So if you're out there throwing sidewalks, do not worry about this rule at all. Alright guys, that is going to do it for this week. Again, please don't take this too seriously. I break plenty of these rules all the time, and you should too. Rules were meant to be broken, especially in skating. There really shouldn't be rules to begin with. So go out and skate in a way that is fun for you, learn at your own pace, and do not take this too seriously. That being said, there are plenty of other rules out there that I would love to poke fun at, so let me know if you guys enjoyed this, and maybe I'll do another one down the road. But until then, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, goodbye.